Well, as we await some kind of news on the fate of TikTok in the United States, whether it's going to be sold, to whom, what will happen, let's talk about what influencers and advertisers are doing on the platform as that other discussion is taking place. Evan Horowitz is joining us now. He's the CEO of Movers and Shakers. He's joining us from Los Angeles. His company helps people build campaigns on services like TikTok. So, Evan, thanks for joining us. So, what have you seen? Has this sort of discussion about what's going to happen with TikTok trickled down to influencers and advertisers, and have they started to try to change their strategy at all?
It's interesting. Movers and Shakers has been working on TikTok for over a year now. And this whole time, there's been a bit of a dark cloud over TikTok with accusations and insinuations. What we find is most advertisers are really in one of two camps. Either they're not too concerned about that and they really want to be where consumers are, which is increasingly on TikTok, or they're just much more cautious from a political or legal standpoint. And we've seen over the last year that most advertisers have still remained in either camp one or camp two. So the work that we're doing with quite a number of brands who want to be on TikTok, who want to be in front of consumers there, is really unhindered. We're actually seeing increasing amounts of momentum, more brands wanting to enter the platform every day that are excited to reach consumers there, despite all of the discussion in the media.
Evan, I think another very distinctive trait with the TikToks and Trillers of the world is that the demo is so young. You know, you're seeing 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds post videos, sometimes with their parents. That's become a huge trend now. But I do want to bring up kind of a dark point. You know, TikTok did remove that graphic video of a live stream suicide that was originally posted on Facebook, right? But then it's proliferating as people keep re-uploading it and posting. How do you caution advertisers and brands as they navigate this murky territory? Because we know this is eerily reminiscent of what Facebook has been dealing with for the last couple of years.
Well, I think that last point is exactly true. You know, this is nothing new. This is nothing about TikTok per se. This is just the nature of social media. This is the nature of the internet. And what I find is, you know, the advertisers that we work with are very well aware of the risks and go on with eyes wide open, that there's always going to be those dark areas that it's just inevitable. And it's really incumbent on the platforms to be vigilant, as we see TikTok has consistently been.
And then when you think about the individual brands that you work with, you mentioned Stitch Fix is a client. You work with a lot of cosmetic brands. Which ones seem to be doing the campaigns right? What are the sorts of areas that you feel like are really popping off right now?
Yeah, so we have quite a diverse client base. We work a lot with Elf Cosmetics, who's been one of the pioneers on TikTok. We do a lot of work with Warner Brothers, who's really leaned into the platform, including this launch of Tenet right now to reopen the theaters. What we see is that the brands that are really succeeding on TikTok are the ones who are really entering, understanding the nuances of this platform. It's a unique place. It's different in many ways from the existing platforms. In some ways, it's the opposite of Instagram, you know, where Instagram is polished and beautiful. TikTok is raw and real and authentic. And the brands that are successful really understand that. They understand those nuances, and the campaigns that they're creating on TikTok really fit that local, authentic feel of TikTok.
Which is, it's funny to me that you're saying that, because I find TikTok, I mean, it takes a lot of work to make a TikTok in some cases, right? Like,
it does.
You don't just take a picture and edit it and put it on. Like, it's actually, it might be deceptively raw, right? But it's not, I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into it. But anyway, I wanted to ask you about some of the other competitors, potential competitors to TikTok. And I'm talking about Reels, speaking of Instagram, and Triller, which I hadn't even heard of. Are they real competitors? Are they actually attracting any of the folks, both influencers and advertisers?
Well, there's no question that TikTok just has a huge head start, and the platform is just extremely robust. And particularly the algorithm that TikTok has developed that recommends videos that you like, it's what makes the app so addictive, and that just provides an incredible amount of stickiness. It's why it's growing so fast, because as soon as you get on TikTok, it immediately starts to learn your preferences, and all of a sudden you just have a great experience on the app. So there's these other apps like Triller, like Reels, that are now trying to copy that. You know, Triller is really interesting. It's much smaller. It has a different demographic. It's much more popular in the urban communities and the music community. And it's a serious thing, but it's a separate thing. TikTok just has a much broader user base. Reels is interesting because, of course, it's from Instagram, and we know they have a lot of resources to put behind it to make it successful. Right now, it's light years away from TikTok. I think there's a lot of systematic things they'll need to address in order to make it a viable competitor to TikTok. But I do have confidence that Facebook will put the resources in over time, and eventually I think they'll get it right, as we saw them do with Stories.
Hey, Evan, Rick Newman here. I think the market assumes that this dispute between TikTok and the Trump administration is going to get resolved. But what if it doesn't? I mean, imagine a scenario in which TikTok actually shuts down in the United States. What would happen? I mean, would there just be mass depression across the land? Who would benefit? Who would that hurt? And how would we ever possibly recover?
It's a great question. And I agree with your first point that this is very unlikely. The market understands that. I think advertisers that we work with consistently are very confident that there will be a resolution. So very small chance that anything will happen to TikTok in the US. That said, of course, we think about that as a possibility. We want to make sure all of our advertisers have contingency plans in case. I think the thing to remember is that the underlying consumer behavior that's driven the rise of TikTok is still there. You can't ban consumer preferences. So TikTok's growth is just a rise of something that consumers are looking for, which wasn't being satisfied by the incumbent platforms, this authenticity being a big piece of that. So what we're going to see if this happens is that consumers are going to be looking to scratch that itch on other platforms. And there are, as Julie mentioned, there's some other alternatives there that could be more successful where TikTok is suddenly disappearing.